Go ahead, Sarah.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
This is the Committee on Parole. We are called to order early this morning at 8:42 for revocation proceedings. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. My colleagues on the panel this morning, seated to my left is Mrs. Stapleton, to my right is Mrs. Ledoux. We are at Baton Rouge at DOC headquarters. I'd like to have the staff here at headquarters please introduce themselves for the record. Parole Williams.
Francis Abbott.
Okay, and our first location is in the Balls Parish, and with the officer in the room, please introduce yourself for the record.
Hey, I'm Deputy Brittany Sweeney.
Thank you, Deputy Sweeney, and thanks for closing that door for us. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And we have before us Mr. Verdreen. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Kobe Lance Vedreen. My DOC number is 716342.
And Mr. Verdreen, we're here for a revocation decision this morning. So do you have any paperwork there with you?
For
That's okay. There's a form I want you to look at. We're gonna put it up on the screen for you. It's your parole revocation questionnaire, and I want you just to verify if that's your signature. You see that form? Is that your signature at the bottom of the page dated April 26th of this year?
yes,
Based on the information and your answers to those questions, when you were administered that questionnaire, you're not eligible for appointed counsel this morning. Is that your understanding?
what is that?
Appointed lawyer, you're not?
No, my lawyer's he's not present.
Right, and based on the information there, you're not eligible for us to appoint you a lawyer.
Okay.
Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me acknowledge first, we have some folks that have joined us by Zoom. We have Bridget DeVille, your girlfriend. She wants to speak on your behalf, and we'll call on her at the appropriate time. We also have the parole agent, Ms. Artigo, and she'll be speaking also. First, we're going to go through our interview with you. I'll read the allegations against you. I'll ask you to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and then we'll have a conversation about all that. And then we'll hear from Ms. Bridget and then Ms. Artigo. And at the end, if you like, you can make a statement before we reach a decision. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Vedreen, you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole. Specifically, first is condition number 2, and it states you failed to report as directed for the months of October 23, November 23, December 23. How do you plead to violating condition number 2? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Then we have condition, it's cited as 4A. It says on or about September 30th, 23, you failed to refrain from the criminal activity by committing offense of domestic abuse, battery, child endangerment, in violation of protective orders. On January 3, 2024, you were billed in the 13th Judicial District Court under docket 13926, domestic abuse, battery, child endangerment, and violation of protective order. On March 7, 2024, you appeared before the court on a defense filed motion to quash, at which time the court passed the matter without date and dismissed the still active order of protection, which was issued on or about January 28, 2021. In docket 120226, domestic abuse, battery, child endangerment, and simple criminal damage to property less than $1,000. So, sir, how do you plead to violating that instance of condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Okay. We have then 4B, and it states on or about December 15, 2023, you failed to refrain from criminal activity by committing the offense of possession of marijuana, 14 grams or less, first offense, On January 26, 2024, in the 13th Judicial District Court, you were billed with possession of marijuana, 14 grams or less, first offense. This matter is still pending in the 13th Judicial District Court, and as of March 22nd, 2024, no court dates have been set for this offense. How do you plead to violating that instance of condition number 4?
I've been to court on that, and I pled guilty, and they gave me a ticket for $100. They found one joint in my truck.
All right, I understand, but so in terms of your parole conditions, how do you plead to violating condition number 4 as it relates to that instance?
To the marijuana?
You're not guilty. Yes.
Yeah. Guilty.
All right. Then there's 4C, and it states on or about December 15, 2023, you failed to refrain from criminal activity by committing the offense of speeding, suspended driver's license, and open container, as evident by the Evangeline Parish Sheriff's Office ticket 890-54430. This matter is filed under docket 14217-T in the 13th Judicial District, and minutes from February 15, 2024 reflect arraignment is set for July 18, 2024. So how do you plead to violating that instance of condition number 4?
Guilty.
Lastly, is condition number 10. You failed to make payments as directed, and as of January 8, 2024, you are in arrears $619 towards your parole supervision. So how do you plead to violating condition number 10?
Guilty.
All right, Mr. Verdreen, your case has been assigned to me, so I'll take the lead on the interview questions. So you, how long have you been in jail on the parole hold?
6 months.
So you were detained December 19th of 20.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I reviewed all the information that was provided to us, and it looks as though on your failure to report for the months of October, November, and December, you claim you were working offshore.
Well, yes, ma'am. The oil company I had been working over a lot. They were going through Chapter 13 bankruptcy, so everything was in chaos. And when I spoke with Miss Jennifer, and she told me I had a warrant. I guess I was put in a position where they're asking me, well, we need you to stay out. I was in a financial, close to $100,000 of debt. I really didn't, know what to do. And I asked her, I said, what can you do? Advise me, what can you do to help me? And I said, well, if I take care of this, if I can get these charges dropped, she said she would speak with her supervisor to see what they could do to lift it, so I wouldn't lose my job or anything. So that, I stayed as long as I could, and then I got a phone call saying my son was in Children's Hospital. He had to air med him. He was in an accident. So I was in another position with that. So I was forced to come in. And then I came in from offshore.
So I do note in the record that you did speak to Ms. Artigo in October, and she told you to report later that month. She gave you a date in October. But you note in the record, I think I saw it in your preliminary hearing, where you knew there were warrants out, so you just stayed offshore.
Oh, hold on. She told me that I have to report to the sheriff's department, not to probation and parole. That I was
But still, you didn't report on the date, whatever date she did.
Right, I was offshore.
Okay. And so let's talk about the protective order that was issued in January of 21. I do know that, later the judge dismissed it, but tell us about that.
I was on drugs real heavy, and I probably deserved what I got. I did a little bit of time over that, and I went to the program, the Stephen Hall substance abuse. I got out. I stayed, clean, got a job. I was doing good. I didn't know that we had an active protective order because I would have took care of it. She didn't know that. We thought that it had an expiration date on that. That was, and, um, and we had an issue with child service. Somebody called child services on it, and the lady came over there and you on parole? Yes, ma'am. She even ran us through and never said that we had any kind of restraining order, protective order, or anything like that. Uh, and I'm guessing when I did sign that, the jailer came into the judge at the, I mean the jail at the parish, and he put it through the guards, and he said, sign this. And that's probably what that was. I signed it and gave it back to him. And it was a
So
protective.
you mentioned that you completed the Steve Hoyle program. Was that how long was that program?
I did 9 months.
You did the
was
night long-term program?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
remember when that was? When was that?
That was right when I was released from 22.
22. You were released in October of 22, so it was just before you released that you did that?
I was released from Bossier City.
So let's talk about what happened on December 15th. No, I'm sorry, excuse me. September 30th, 23. The domestic abuse, child endangerment.
That morning, Bridget and the kids went to school, and Bridget went to work. And I guess she was aggravated because I came home and it was late, and she was, well, when the kids get off the bus, just make sure you're there. And my son's 14, so I came home a little late, and she was in bed laying down, and we went into the room and we just started arguing and was hooping and hollering at each other. The kids were outside.
Right.
And I guess they came into the house, and I went to grab me some clothes and knocked the TV off the stand and broke it. And her other son, I guess, got scared and ran outside and called the cops. And
Were you intoxicated?
Ma'am?
Were you intoxicated?
No, ma'am. I was fishing. I don't. Who said I was Who said that I was intoxicated? I went to my mom's, and I called Bridget, and the officer answered, and that was not even in the report.
Yeah, it's in the report I'm looking at. It's in the report I'm looking at. And then there was a second television. Of course, they were all your TVs, but there was a second TV that you also punched. And then you struck her on the right side of the face with a closed fist while she was in the bed.
I never did that. I never touched her. All I did was grab my stuff and I left.
Yeah, so the bruising and redness on her face, how did that happen to be there?
I wasn't there. She said she did not have no bruise. She went to the sheriff's department the next day and spoke with the sheriff, and to try to get this, because it was just a misunderstanding of everything. I wasn't. You'd really have to speak with her about that. What happened between her and the officer? I just grabbed some clothes and left.
Okay, all right. And what's concerning to me, Mr. Vadrine, is it's also noted in the record for this particular case that there's some history of a domestic abuse.
You're right. I came from a good family. Nobody in my family's ever been in trouble. I worked offshore all my life. I just got hooked on drugs and was running wild. And
Okay.
just until I got off.
I don't need you to explain it to me. I want you to know it is noted in the record that there is a history. So I'm going to defer to my colleagues. I don't have any other questions right now. I will probably, but I'm going to ask my colleagues if they have any questions.
I just want to know, how long had you been in a relationship with Bridget?
Almost 5 years.
So you do not share any children?
We have a 14-year-old son together.
So the 14-year-old the 13-year-old who called the 911 was not your son?
No, ma'am.
All right, that's the question.
No, I don't have any questions.
All
Can
right,
I ask you a question?
what is it?
Okay, on my paperwork, it said when we went in there, the court dismissed it, right? And they put in my paperwork to pass this matter without date. I just had a hearing. Well, I wasn't present. The lawyer didn't need me there. They had a hearing, and the hearing, they redid my paperwork, and it says, Bridget's got a copy of it, that all my charges were dismissed, and it's signed by the DA's office and the judge.
All
Did
right.
y'all get that?
I don't think it's in the record. I don't think I have that.
Yeah,
But
Bridget.
she can provide it for us if she wishes to do so. We're going to hear from her now. Miss Bridget, what would you like us to know?
She's on mute.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that me and Kobe do have a 14-year-old child together. And this last time that he has gotten out, he actually bonded with his son and was there for him. He wasn't on drugs. He was clean. He got a job back offshore. And I find that he has grown up and took a lot of responsibility. When our son got in an accident, he did come relieve me from the hospital and stayed with him. And I guess maybe he might have issues dealing with stress or something. And maybe possibly that's why he had an open container. But this is the best this last time that I've ever seen Kobe do, and actually there for his son.
So with regard to the incident in September of last year, the police report that we have does say that you told them that he arrived at the residence and he was intoxicated, and then you heard whatever the rest of the stuff that I told Kobe.
I did. And with that particular incident, that's the reason why I did go to the sheriff's department the very next day, is because I did not want to sign any type of paper or anything. And that cop told me that I had to put something on that paper.
Right.
Then he says, oh, because my son that called was not 13. He's 11. And the officer said, well, your face looks red. He hid this, that. And I'm like, he's like, hold your face up to the light. So I was like, I have nothing to hide. So I said, sure, take the picture.
Okay, I do see in the record that, you did sign an affidavit of non-prosecution. We do have that. And we do have pictures. So anything else you'd like us to know?
No, ma'am.
All right, good. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us this morning.
Now do I need, is there any way that I can email?
Sorry. Go ahead.
She's trying to.
Yeah, you can do it at parole board at doc.la.gov.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. It's parole board at la.gov. We're going to text that to you if you missed it.
Okay, thank you.
Page 22. That's 1 23. Okay, so I'm sorry, that's why I didn't read it.
All right, Kobe, we're going to hear from Miss Artigo now. Miss Artigo,
Good morning.
morning.
I just for the record, I know Kobe had said earlier, I told him I would work with him if he turned himself in regards to getting him released. However, just like y'all know for the record, we take domestic abuse battery very serious. We do not release the holds. So that was incorrect from when he said, because I would never say that, because domestic abuse battery, especially child endangerment, is a very serious crime. I think it's obvious. I'm against his release, and I am, for his revocation. He pled guilty to majority of the conditions. He violated his supervision. Miss Bridget may not be wanting him to get revoked. However, what he did also affected the children. The children, he stated himself, must have been scared and they called 911. My job is probation, parole, public safety, and corrections. I attempt to rehabilitate, but in instances where people can't be rehabilitated, it's public safety. And I think he is a public safety risk to his other 3 victims where he has charges of domestic abuse, battery, child endangerment, and their children. Their children shouldn't have to be part of that. And I feel that if he is not revoked, then another child might fall victim to his aggressive actions.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for the time.
Mr. Vidrine, is there a statement you'd like to say to wrap it up for us?
Yes, I mean, I would love for y'all to consider, reinstatement. I can go on my days home. I would, I can go to AA classes, or something. My family needs me. It's not gonna change. Something me and Bridget have to work on. You know what I'm saying? It's easy for the parole officer to say, well, just revoke him. This woman's never even been to my house since I've been on parole. They approved me to live at that address. I didn't know. I went, did the proper things like I was supposed to. I gave the paperwork to the parole officer. They approved me to live there. You know, I can understand if she was doing her job, but she's never even been to my house. I saw her one time in my whole life. This is the second time I've seen her. You know, I've been doing good. I have a job. I need to catch. I was trying to catch up on things. That's my son. I'm gonna always see my son. These charges are dropped. I don't.
All right, I understand. I hear what you're saying, but Mr. Vidrine, it has nothing to do with where you live in. I mean, I understand what you say about the protective order. You didn't know it existed.
And
But in spite of the fact that the domestic abuse charges were dropped, there's clear evidence in the record that some physical abuse occurred. So I think we're prepared to vote. My vote, I find you guilty of violating condition number 2, the 4A instance, and 4B of that violation, as well as the arrearages. So my vote today is going to be to revoke your parole. Sorry, Mrs. Stapleton.
I vote to revoke your parole also, and you still didn't hear that parole officer clearly when you said this was between you and Bridget. It is between you and Bridget, and those children are the victims too. That's why we have child endangerment. Children are present during this time of altercation. They are terrified and they don't know that if you're going to hurt them also. So anytime you have children present, they're your victims also. So
I'm still gonna go home to my family. I mean,
but you would, but you just shouldn't be hitting on your girlfriend.
I didn't hit her. There's no proof that I hit her.
We're voting. Yes, there is. We have pictures.
Mr. Vidrine, as a 3rd felony offender, you're very aware of the conditions of parole and supervision. And I find by the preponderance of evidence that you violated those conditions. My vote is to revoke.
That concludes our business in Avoyles. We're going to sign off at 9:06 a.m.
Oh, my parole.
right, good morning. The Committee on Parole is reconvening at 9:16 a.m. on June 6, 2024, and we are at St. Tammany Parish Jail. Let me ask the officer to please introduce himself for the record.
Corporal Jonathan Lott.
Thank you, Corporal Lott, for accommodating us today. We have before us Mrs. Patrick, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Introduce yourself. Tell us your name and DOC.
My name is Patrick Drawdy, DOC number 561293.
Sir, that's what I have. My name is Cheryl Renatza, and seated to my left is Mrs. Stapleton. To my right is Mrs. Ledoux. We're here for a revocation decision this morning. We're going to put a form up on the page, a parole revocation questionnaire, and I need to ask you to verify if that's your signature on that page. You see that? Is that your signature at the bottom, dated March 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Drawdy, based on the information in that questionnaire, your responses to those answers, you're not eligible for us to appoint a lawyer for you today. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're ready to proceed with the revocation proceeding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to read the allegations against you, after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then we'll have a discussion about your plea. So you're accused of violating your parole conditions, specifically number 3, and it states on or about January 27, 2024, you absconded supervision in that you moved without permission from your approved residence. The whereabouts were unknown until you were located on January 30th, 2024, residing at 33 Holly Crest Drive in Covington. How do you plead to violating condition number 3?
I plead not guilty.
Okay, we'll talk about it in a minute. So not guilty. You're going to make a statement?
Uh,
Well, not yet. I'm
Yeah,
asking.
wait.
So your option is guilty with a statement, not guilty with a statement, or not guilty, not guilty with a statement.
I'll just plead not guilty and I'll wait till we discuss it.
Okay. Then there's condition number 4, and it states on or about January 26, 2024, you engaged in criminal activity associated with people known to be engaged in criminal activity and failed to refrain from the illegal use of drugs or alcohol, as evidenced by your admission on January 26, 2024, to obtaining and ingesting methamphetamines and marijuana. The ingested illegal narcotics caused you to overdose on the morning of January 26, 2024, and were found unresponsive on the floor of your bedroom by your roommate. You had to be given CPR and then administered 2 milligrams of Narcan by Medical 31 of the St. Tammany Fire Protection District 3 EMS to be revived. How do you plead to violating condition number 4?
I plead guilty to that.
Okay. Then there is condition number 7. You failed to truthfully and promptly answer all questions directed to you by your parole officer on January 30th, 2024, after being located residing at the 33 Holly Crest Drive, Covington, Louisiana. You were asked where you were staying from January 26th until January 30th, 24. You stated you had been staying at your approved address, 60440 Highway 434 in Lacombe, which was verified to be a lie by both your roommate and your landlord. You further stated that your roommate let you into the residence after returning from the hospital, but was discovered you climbed into the residence via an open window. So how do you plead to violating condition number 7?
I'm not guilty.
Okay, not guilty. Condition number 9. By absconding good time supervision, you failed to allow the agent from the Covington District of the Probation and Parole Office to visit you at your residence or place of employment at any time. How do you plead to violating number 9?
I'm not guilty.
Last is condition number 10. You have failed to make any payments to your supervision fees and are currently $126 in arrears on said fees. How do you plead to violating number 10?
I'm not guilty of that either, ma'am.
Okay. Um, also joining us is your parole officer, Mr. Steve Early. We're going to call on him for his comments once we complete our interview with you. Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Stapleton. Would you answer questions?
Good morning, Mr. Drawdy.
Ma'am.
We're here about your revocation. You said on the first one that you were not guilty with a statement that your whereabouts were known for those 3 days that your parole officer signed. Can you explain that?
Okay, man, this, like right here in number 4, it states on the 26th is whenever everything took place.
Yes.
So in number 3, it says on or about the 27th. I was scouted. The 27th was a Saturday. I have 3 business days to notify any change of residence, which I did on that Monday. Everything happened on a Friday. So they're saying that they didn't know where I was at over the weekend. Well, there's no way for me to the probation and parole office is closed on a weekend. I don't have any, and during this time I had a change of probation and parole officers. So at the time I didn't have Steve's number to be able to call him, but on that Monday I did call to notify of a change of address, like I was supposed to. And I'm supposed to be allotted 3 business days, which, let's see, Monday would be the first business day. That would be the 29th, and then on the 30th, they was arrested me on the second business day. So I was never given a full 3 business days to notify anybody of my change of address. I was arrested on a Tuesday. I was supposed to be given Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I did. I called and notified on that Monday.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, and I see what the officer wrote, and he's gonna respond to that directly, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
He'll be able to do that better than I can. But then we have the 26th. We come to the 26th. And that's where you were, and you pled guilty to criminal activity. You bought drugs, you overdosed on drugs, and you were unresponsive, and CPR was having to give it to you.
Yes, ma'am.
So that was a violation.
Yes, ma'am. I am guilty of that. I was struck. I had relapsed. But I don't see why I wasn't given a chance to go to rehab or get some kind of help.
Well,
Instead,
but you're not supposed to engage in illegal activity. I mean, it's grace that you're on that you're on probation. And while you're on probation, you know about the rules and you're supposed to follow them. So it's not that it's okay, now let's go do this for you. It's that you're not supposed to do it to begin with. So
I was doing fine. I did have a relapse, ma'am. It's not like I wouldn't have accepted help if it would have been offered to me.
well, hopefully that help's gonna come to you
Yes,
in
ma'am.
another setting. Okay, so it was your roommate that said that you actually weren't at the residence where you said you were. Your roommate said no, that was a lie. You weren't there. And that's condition number 7. So you weren't truthful. Is that a lie? Was your roommate lying on you?
Yes, ma'am. That is a lie. My roommate just going along with whatever my landlord told him to do. I was in and out of the house all weekend. My landlord, after I overdosed on the fentanyl, before I went to the hospital, my landlord took my keys. I was never served an eviction notice. I was still on the lease. I was in and out of the house all weekend. I was back and forth between there and my friend Steve's house. My roommate was giving me problems getting in the residence because he said that he was instructed by my landlord. But according to Louisiana law, state law says that I'm actually, if I'm not served an eviction notice, I'm still technically living at the residence, but I was having issues getting in and out because I don't have a key. He was having to let me in and out. So I just thought it would have been better for things before, to blow over. I was going to stay with a friend over the
So you
weekend.
really weren't there.
Huh?
You weren't there because he took your keys. And you know what is funny about all of this? That you know the law so well when you think it's in your favor, but you don't know the law when it's going to go the opposite direction.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to twist the law. I was in and out of the house all weekend. They're trying to make an example out of me because they had fentanyl overdoses and deaths at my landlord's residence prior. They made a statement the week prior that they was going to make an example out of somebody.
Okay.
I'm not trying to, I admitted to what I actually did.
Okay, let me ask you this one. Okay, so number 9 and number 10. That it says that they are supposed to be allowed to visit your resident and place of employment at any time. That's on the rules. So they can't do it if you're not really there or you're in and out, like you say, and you have no key to the place.
That was over the weekend.
Okay, all right, so you're gonna get to talk, your officer's gonna talk. And how about you failed to make payments for your
I got around the holidays.
Mhm.
Everywhere I went to apply for jobs, I was
Mhm.
told that nobody was hiring until around the first of the year. Then I finally found a job at 5 Minute Oil Change in Covington around December.
Mhm.
All this happened in January. So I never got a full paycheck until the 26th, that Friday, when all this happens, when I finally got my first paycheck from 5 Minute Oil Change. They let me go because of an extensive background check, and I had to haggle with them to finally get my paycheck. So thanks to Catholic Charities, they were paying my rent, and they were also helping me with my registration fees. But as far as being able to pay my parole fees, I had no money. I was able to get money every now and again from doing some work for my friend's mom, like yard work, but it wasn't enough to pay any fees. It wasn't enough to do anything with. So it's not like, I mean, I wasn't planning on paying my fee. I literally just got my paycheck on the 26th, which I still have in my bank account.
Number 10, let me interrupt for just a second here. On number 10, Specialist Everly makes an excellent point. You didn't have the money for $126 in arrears, but you had money to buy the overdose narcotics.
I do have that. I still have that paycheck right now.
Free. They gave you the narcotics for free, or did you have to buy them?
I didn't buy those.
Okay, you got those for free. All right, well, I'm finished with my questions.
Any questions? All right, Mr. Early, we'd like to hear from you, sir. No, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
If you look at the back of your the packet, there's a letter from Nicholas Transient, the one that revived him that morning, gave him CPR. He found the subject, Mr. Drawdy, at about roughly 9 o'clock. He found him unresponsive in his room, throwing up. He gave him CPR. They called 911. They showed up. Mr. Drawdy was very upset because the police had been called. He refused to go to the hospital. I was in court that morning. I went out to the house right after court, and I told him, you either go to the treatment or, sorry. I said, you either go to the hospital and get treatment, or you're going to go to jail. He elected to go to that Friday afternoon. He went to the Slidell Memorial Hospital. After they came out, they had to give him 2 doses of Narcan that morning. It was methamphetamine laced with fentanyl, we do believe. I followed the ambulance, the med ambulance, to the Slidell Memorial. We got him in there that night. He broke back into the house. A black male brought him out to the house. This is people talking at the house. Brought him back to the house. When I saw him that day, he voluntarily gave his keys up to the landlord. We were talking. He was still throwing up some black mucus while we're trying to do a drug screen on him. He admitted to using methamphetamine with fentanyl. We followed the ambulance, and then that night he disappeared. I was calling every day trying to find out if he was back. He never came back. He did come back. He climbed in Nicholas Transient's window, and he knocked some stuff off the window and marked the wall up when he got back in. So that's why he couldn't have keys. He gave them to the landlord willingly.
Why would I give my keys away willingly?
No, Mr. Drawdy, this is Mr. Early's time to speak.
That's fine.
Anyway, we didn't know where he's at. I got a phone call. I said, is he back? I didn't know where he was at. I got a call from the sex offender registry in St. Tammany Parish that said he's at 33. Right then he was at 33 Hollycrest. We went there, we found him there, we arrested him, put him in jail. He was very angry when we arrested him. He said he had 3 days, not with probation or parole. You have to tell me where you go, when you go. So we found him at that residence. That was Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. So Tuesday was 5 days. So for 96 hours, he was missing. I was calling hourly, trying to find out, daily, trying to find out where he was at. I was looking through his phone when we found him that morning, that afternoon on the 26th. He was very angry. He was cursing at Nicholas for calling police to come out to the residence. He was unresponsive. I told him, I said that you're lucky you're alive. Had he not done that and called 911, you'd be dead. We found him residing in a different residence where he shouldn't have been. Then he hasn't paid fees. I don't know what more to say.
I think that's plenty. We appreciate your input. Thank you so much. Mr. Drotti, before we vote, is there a brief statement you'd like to make?
Yes, ma'am. Regardless of how I feel or how my parole officer had felt or how it's basically what this boils down to. It's basically his word against mine. What we need to look at is the facts.
And
Okay.
that's what we do, sir. We have all kind of documentation and facts in our record that we have.
This Nicholas Trahan, where he's not even here anymore, because while I was locked up, this guy tries to.
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. We have the reports from medical people who gave you attention, who gave you medical assistance. We have
That's
all those
fine.
reports,
I
sir.
admit that's
Okay.
fine. But
Right.
what does that have to
That's
do
the
with
issue.
my revocation?
We are prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton.
Sir, I revoke you on rule violations 3, 4, 7, 9, and 10.
Mrs. Ledoux.
Based on the preponderance of evidence, my vote is to revoke your parole. Sir, you're a third felony offender and you know the rules.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Drotti, you pled guilty to violating condition number 4 based on the information contained in the record, the evidence presented by Mr. Early. I also find you guilty of conditions 3, 7, 9, and 10. So based on your guilty plea and the evidence in the record, I also vote to revoke your parole. Good luck to you, sir. Today your parole's been revoked. Thank you, Mr. Early, for spending some time with us this morning. We do appreciate it.
You were trying to be all
right, thank you.
That concludes business at St. Tammany. We're going to sign off at 9:34. Thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
Good morning.
Morning.
At Parole, we are reconvening at 9:39 a.m. on June 6, 2024. We're at the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. I'd like the officer, sir, would you introduce yourself for the record?
I'm Captain Miles, Chief of Intake.
All right, thank you, Captain Miles, for accommodating us today.
Yes, ma'am.
Before us, Joshua Singleton. Mr. Singleton, good morning. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Joshua Singleton, 752229.
My name is Cheryl Renatza. Seated to my left is Mrs. Stapleton. To my right is Mrs. Ledoux. We are your parole panel this morning. We're here for a revocation decision. We're going to put do you have some paperwork there with you? Do you have a parole revocation questionnaire?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your signature down at the bottom of that page?
Yes, ma'am.
So based on the information you provided in that questionnaire, it was determined you're not eligible for an appointed lawyer. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're ready to proceed this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let me acknowledge that we have your mother, Ms. Tony Singleton, your girlfriend, Ashley Norwood, both who want to speak on your behalf, and we're going to ask them to do so once we finish our questions.
Yes, ma'am.
First, I'm going to read the violations, the allegations, and you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. And then we'll have some questions for you.
Yes,
So you're accused of violating condition number 4 of your parole conditions. It reads, you were arrested by the Baton Rouge Police Department December 19, 2023 for battery of a Dayton partner, child endangerment. You were billed for this arrest under DC-24-00588. This bill was dismissed on April 23rd, 2024 per the victim's request, but there is no evidence to state that the incident did not occur or is any different from the police report. The police report also alleges visible injuries were done to the victim in the form of a busted lip. The victim of the alleged offense also contacted the Baton Rouge Police Department twice previously, alleging continuing domestic violence behaviors toward her during your current period of supervision. So, Mr. Singleton, how do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Okay. Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Ledoux. Would you answer her questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Singleton. Just for the record, are you a third-class offender?
A third-class offender? I don't think so.
Okay. Your master prison record reflects that you're a third-class offender. Have you been on supervision previously?
Parole? No,
Yes.
ma'am. No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Singleton, you had actually 2 instances where police were called. There was one that it was only a police record that you went to an ex-girlfriend's house and wanted to stay there because she said you knew that you were going to be in trouble for the domestic abuse battery. Do you recall that incident?
No, that incident, that's not true.
Okay, so did you go to Texas to pick up your girlfriend whenever she went to Texas with her family?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I find him.
I never been out the state since I've been released.
So you did not have a problem when you had the domestic abuse battery charge. Did you feel like you were going to go back to prison?
So, can you repeat the question?
When you had that domestic abuse battery charge filed against you prior to it being dropped, did you think you were going to go back to prison?
I mean, I didn't know of the charge before I was arrested. I didn't know, that I was charged with that before, the arrest. But I mean, after they told me that I had a warrant, I knew I was going back to jail. After I
So
was told about the warrant.
who told you about the warrant?
My lawyer.
Your guardian,
My lawyer.
lawyer. Okay. So were you in custody at that time when your lawyer told you you had a warrant?
No, my lawyer was getting ready to make I forgot what they called it, but they was trying to get in touch with someone so they can turn me in with my lawyer being present.
So why would they have a warrant for you if there was no evidence that you did anything?
A warrant, I mean, the police said the police was called, so I guess that's why they had the warrant.
So why was the police called, you think?
Due to, I can't say why, but I mean,
Who called the police?
I guess Miss Norwood.
And why would she call the police if nothing happened?
I mean, well, nothing physically happened, but we did have an argument.
Well, I have arguments. I don't call the police. I think that the police was
Well,
called.
I feel just because I think she knew that I was on parole, that's why she called the police. Because she knew that I probably would get back, I would get in more trouble by her or calling the police and I'm going back to jail by me being on parole.
So you're. Okay. I'll listen to what everybody has to say. Do you have any questions?
Sir, I'm just reading from the statement that you went to an ex-girlfriend's house because you said you needed a place to stay. And that the second police report details how the subject was staying with an ex-girlfriend, not the address of record. And then 2 weeks later that he began kicking on the door when she asked him to wake up. The subject reportedly fled from the address after she called because he was aware of the domestic abuse warrant out for him. The subject was then arrested following a short standoff on 12/19/23 at the third address, which was not his address of record. So what happened? Was there a standoff? Were you at a different address? Is that attorney?
A standoff is considered me being with a firearm towards, the police. That's a standoff. I never brandished the firearm, never possessed the firearm, never.
You just refused to come out.
I had no access. No, I came outside when they acknowledged and said who they was. I contacted my lawyer first.
Okay.
And the lawyer told me that it's best for me to go outside, and I went outside and I turned myself in.
That may account for the word short standoff, that it was a short, in their eyes, a standoff, because police on the other side of the door, they don't know if you're getting a gun or if you have a gun.
Yeah, I never.
Attorney at the time. That's what you were saying, just getting legal advice. And then you went.
That's the only thing I did. I never had a standoff. It never was a standoff. I never brandished the firearm. They never got a firearm from me or off of me.
Okay,
in the presence of the house.
Seems like there was a lot of problems with all this domestic violence and back and forth between girlfriends and stuff. So I don't have any further questions.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Singleton. You mentioned your lawyer a few times this morning. Did you expect a lawyer to be present for this proceeding?
No, I knew my lawyer wouldn't be present for this. No, ma'am.
Okay. So you're ready to continue on without your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Because that attorney that you had you hired him, right?
Can you repeat the question?
When you called, you mentioned that you called and came to whatever was going on to the house. You had hired that attorney, right?
Yeah, they represented me for
okay.
this case.
Something. I got it. Okay. So we're going to hear from the folks who have joined us today. First, we'd like to hear from your mother, Ms. Singleton.
Good, good morning.
Morning. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm here for support and of my son. I just want to say, like, if this is resolved today and he is released, the goal is to get him out of Louisiana and to get him to Houston, where I stay. The judge has granted that he can have out-of-state parole and have his parole transferred to Houston, where I'm living. I do know that the condition with the charges being dismissed, since they have been dismissed, that he has to take a class that's a 6 months class. So the goal is to get all of that set up, get him enrolled in the class, get everything taken care of, and get him transitioned from Louisiana to Houston. I've listened to some of the things that were said about the ex-girlfriend and going to her house and pounding on the door and stuff. And I'm familiar with that young lady, and I have like text messages and things on my phone from the young lady um, about things that she said she was gonna do out of spite because she knew his situation, and she was mad because he was no longer in a relationship with her and now currently in a relationship with Ms. Norwood. So I think that she was calling the police and saying things out of spite in order to get him locked up and in trouble, which I don't think is fair. But you know, we have people that react and do things because they feel that their feelings are hurt or someone has wronged them. That's beyond any of our control. But my goal really is to get my son out of Louisiana, get him to Houston, get him a fresh start, help him gain meaningful employment, complete his parole, complete his classes, and go on to be a productive citizen. That is my overall goal.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your support of him. Could we hear from Ms. Norwood?
Good morning. I just want to say that I'm here in support of Joshua. A lot of things did transpire that night, and that young lady that you all are speaking on, I have had several incidents with her, involving her, just her and I personally, because Josh doesn't typically involve himself in that. And at that time, I was really going through a lot personally. And I had found out some things about them possibly messing around. And at that moment, that the night that I called the cops, that was mainly out of spite because I felt a type of way about me hearing things about him and the ex-girlfriend. So I did take advantage of his situation in that moment. And I regret that. I never wanted Josh to go to jail or any of this to happen. I'm in support of him, you know, moving and changing his people, place, and things and bettering himself. And I regret my part on falsely, you know, taking things as far as I did when I didn't have the right to do that. Despite me feeling a type of way about the ex-girlfriend and what I had heard, I had no proof of, you know, them talking or anything. But like I said, prior to that, I, you know, have had some encounters with her. So, it was just a lot going on, and I have personally sought therapy for, you know, the things that I feel like I was going through at that moment, and it really had nothing to do with Joshua because he had just come home. So I was just taking my anger out and acting off of emotions that particular day or that time.
Did you go to the hospital for injuries?
Yes, I did, because like I told the DA, I did have an injury to my mouth due to me the day that that incident happened. Joshua had separated himself from me that entire day. So I was already texting him, you know, feeling a type of way. And then when he finally did come back around, I was still angry at the moment. And in the midst of me leaving and things like that, we were arguing, and I pushed him, and he was trying to, you know, move me out of the way. And I was at the time staying with him. So I had all my things in his room. I end up tripping over something, and that's how I got the injury on my mouth. I hit the side of the bed.
And
that
you were
night.
so angry that you got your 6-year-old dog up and walked out cold to leave that residence over just an argument.
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Norwood. We appreciate your input. Joshua, is there anything else you'd like to say to us?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, I want to say, like, I don't personally have anything against females at all. I was raised around females my whole life between my mom, her mother, and her sisters. So I respect women. This domestic thing, that's not me. That's not my motive vendetta. Like, I don't have anything against women. That's my pride and joy. I love my girlfriend to death. I love my mother to death. I love my grandparents. I love my grandmother, her sisters. And like I said, a lot of people do see things in me that I don't see. And I do feel like I was taken advantage of in this situation. But that's all I want to say. Thank you.
All right. I think we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Ledoux.
Mr. Singleton, based on police reports and all the notes that I have on this, without any conflicting evidence other than statement, my vote today is to revoke you. I find that there's a preponderance of evidence that a physical altercation took place, and my vote is to revoke.
Mrs. Stapleton.
I concur, and I do hope that there is a domestic violence course that you can take, whatever jail you're at, because you need it and it'll do you good. So I concur with Ms. Ledoux.
And my vote is the same, Mr. Singleton, to revoke and ask that you take advantage of any program opportunity that you can while you're there. So today, sorry, your parole's being revoked. Good luck to you, sir.
So I have a question.
What is that?
Do I get all my credit as far as I've been in jail for 6 months and I have 3 months street credit? I'm supposed to have 9 months credit.
Right. I can't answer that. It's a DOC question because we don't calculate the time. So your classification there could probably help you get in touch with them. And I do want to let you know that you need to be, if your intention is to go to Houston, you need to start now on the interstate compact agreement. It's this board that allows you to go to out of state, not the judge. So
see,
start working.
Another thing is with the credit, is like no way that I can get no one to, I know that's hard. No one's going to be able to help me get that credit because I don't go to court anymore. Usually when you get court credit, they say it in court and it's on the record as far as like they're giving you that credit. So
it's actually a matter of law as far as your street credit and your earned compliance credit. So the DOC calculates that for you. So after today's proceeding, that's what they will do. They'll calculate your time.
But I done seen a lot of people.
Master prison record. You will. We'll make a note that you're inquiring.
Yeah, I'm just saying because I see a lot of people go through DOC and they don't get their credit.
I understand, and we're going to make a note that you're asking about it. That concludes business. Does that conclude our business? Oh, I'm sorry. We have one more at East Baton Rouge.
You done?
Yeah.
And his attorney is here. Good morning. Committee on Parole is reconvening. We're still, I believe, at East Baton Rouge Parish. And we're ready for our next case. Donato. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So they actually took him back because he wasn't on the list that they sent us this morning. So they're bringing him back now because we saw him in waiting.
Okay, well, thank you. We appreciate you that. So
Yeah.
how long do you think it'll take to bring him up?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Okay,
They're
that's
they're in the
fine.
process of getting him.
Sorry.
The list they sent this morning for the Zoom, he wasn't on there. That's why we took him back.
Okay, well, we appreciate you going back to get him. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that, please.
All right, good morning. Sir, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number. Y'all are still on mute.
Okay.
There we go. There we go.
Donato Gentile, and I don't have a DOC number. I don't have a prison sentence.
I tell you what, let me see. I'll get some other information from you. You have,
Right here.
hang on, Mr. Gentile. I got our records.
Look, date of birth 12.
What year were you born, sir?
12/30/74.
All right, and what are the last 4 digits of your social security number? Do you know?
6483.
Yes, sir. So your DOC number, according to our record, Mr. Gentile, is 610610.
Okay. Now,
All right, wait, hold on, sir. I know you got some things to say to us, but I got to take care of some business first. We have here with us in the room, Mr. Gentile, Mr. Scott Collier. He's your appointed lawyer. Do you still want him to represent you today?
No.
You've met with him before, and you have to have, based on your, according to our records, we are required to provide you with a lawyer.
All right, ma'am, you're also required to know I do not have a prison sentence. The only sentence ma'am,
Yes,
please
sir,
listen.
we're not here for that discussion. I think
How is it not to
there
be
is
discussed?
obvious a misunderstanding.
I'm on informed knowledge that I'm filing a lawsuit on you. It's in the courts right now. I have no sentence. I would like to please respectfully.
We will let the courts decide
you are wrong.
that.
You are holding a man hostage. I am held kidnapped. I do not have a sentence. So before I get rude, you keep pausing it, muting it all you want. They can still see my mouth. Okay, I have no sentence.
All
Goodbye.
right. All right, thank you, sir.
He has to stay until we make a decision.
Yeah. All right. All right, ma'am.
Yes.
What we are going to do is we're going to order that the DOC move him to a mental health unit at Hunt.
Go see about
And we'll continue this proceeding pending that evaluation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you can, we'll send that order on.
Yeah,
Did you understand that?
he stormed out of the room, so.
Yeah, we understand. That's okay. And we appreciate you going to get him. And we understand he has some lack of understanding of everything. So we're going to try to get him some help. I think now that concludes our business in East Baton Rouge. We're going to sign off from there at 10:13. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
Parole is reconvening at Elaine Hunt Correctional Center. Today is June the 6th, 2024. It's 10:23 a.m. Would the staff there at Hunt please introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning, Donnie Bartolow, Ward.
Christy LeBlanc, classification.
Joe Buttress, Assistant Warden.
All right, thank you for accommodating us today. Good morning. Let me introduce my colleagues seated. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Seated to my left is Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton. To my right, Mrs. Jerry Ledoux. We are your parole panel this morning, and I believe we have Marcus. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Morning. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number.
My name is Marcus Bias, 461483.
All right. Mr. Bias, you know the process. This is a rehearing for you, is it not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you know the process, so we'll just jump right in. Did you have a guest there with you today?
Yes, ma'am. I have my family. I have my niece, my mom, my fiance, my sister, and my brother.
All right, do we have, okay, let me see. Do we have that list? Oh, wait, here we go. I got it. Yeah, Janetta Bias, your mother, April Tolliver, Tamiko Bias, Morkel Bias, Shanaja Bias. All who are there. Thank y'all for being here today. It's my understanding that nobody wants to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, thank y'all for coming. We appreciate your presence. All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Marcus, you're classified as a fourth felony offender. You are currently serving a 15-year sentence. You were originally sentenced in July 18, 2019. Possession of a controlled dangerous substance, 2 years. Possession with intent to distribute, 10 years. Transaction proceeds, drug offense, 10 years. Possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine. Oops. And then as a habitual offender, possession with intent to distribute a controlled dangerous substance, a 15-year sentence. Those sentences are running concurrent, so it's total of 15 years. You have a parole eligibility date, which was September 1st, 2022. An adjusted good time date of December 5th, 2032. Full term date is November 30th, 2033. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You were denied in 2022.
Yes, I was.
Parole committee, and what I noted in the record, it was because of law enforcement opposition. Is that right?
Law enforcement issues.
Yeah, it was the reason for the denial. Opposition, I said. If I said issue, I meant law enforcement opposition.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Your case this morning has been assigned to Mrs. Stapleton, seated to my left. Would you answer any questions she may have?
Good morning, sir. It's very nice to see the family there in support of you. What classes have you taken since you've been there? Because you have a history going back to 2001 of drug use and possession with intent to distribute. Goes back a long, long time. Can you tell me what you've been doing there to not repeat this?
Yes, ma'am. I've been I took a 100-hour pre-release. I took anger management, cage and rage, living in balance, part 1 and part 2. I got my high set. I got core. I've got field safety, job life skills, express employment, professional, certified. I have the student of the month certificate. I have Malachi dads, inside out dads. And I'm currently in victim impact. I'll be finished with that in 2 weeks.
Victim impact, that's very good.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start taking the classes, sir?
As soon as, ma'am,
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I was gonna say, when did you start taking the classes?
I started taking the classes in June 6th of last year, 2023. When whenever I got shipped from Riverbend Detention Center. Soon as I made it to Elaine Hunts, I went in transition to better myself as a man and a human being.
That's what I noticed, that the dates actually started, like you said, in 2023, and then they've come forward to 2024. So what changed in your mind that made you want to take these classes and focus on what you needed to do better when you do get out?
Quite a few things, ma'am. By being incarcerated these 5.5 years, became the best years of my life. The reason for me saying that, because it helped me find out who Marcus Byers really is. Thanks to God, to these rehabilitative programs, it helped me figure out what type of person I really am. And it showed me that I'm ready, that I got a purpose on this earth and I'm ready to fulfill that. And also, I realized how I affected my community and my family and my 6 children. And I'm tired of living that way, ma'am. And I know I'm not getting younger, I'm getting older. And life is too short.
What is your age now, Marcus?
I'm 40 years old, ma'am.
You're 40 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first start doing drugs, using drugs?
Probably at 19.
About 19, so about 20 years you've been using drugs. Now you have a lot of convictions that's possession with intent to distribute. How did that come about?
Being immature, ignorant, and selfish.
So you were willing to sell the drugs also?
Yes, ma'am.
So there's a lot of victims. I mean, you know, that they talk to you and victim accountability about the ripple effect of your actions. Well, you've got, like you just said, your family, but then you've got society going in the other directions that causes that ripple effect with intent to distribute drugs. If you just were taking yourself, then you'd have just your family that'd be heartbroken over the situation and your children. You've got 6 children.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
What are your children's age?
20, 19, 17, 14, 10, and 8.
You've got every reason in the world to turn your life around and be a good role model. And I see that you took the course for dads. You've taken some very good courses that everybody, you know, talks well about. But like I said, you served like approximately 1/3 of your sentence, correct? Of a 50-year sentence. 5.5 years, you served about 1/3 of your sentence. And I also see that, as far as I can tell, you're an excellent inmate. You write up some, I didn't see any. Is there any write-ups for him, Warden?
No, ma'am, no.
None. What would you say about him there?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, like he's told y'all, he's done a lot. He hit the ground running when he got here in March of 23. And I'm kind of surprised. I don't know how he found the time to complete all those classes in the short amount of time he did. So he had to have been taking multiple classes at the same time in order to accomplish that. While he's been a tier walker for our mental health inmates, so he's been assistant as well. So he's done a lot, and it's actually kind of impressive how he was able to complete that much. I don't think he mentioned he got his high set here as well. So he's been doing really well.
So you're a tier walker for the mental health unit, sir?
Yes, I am.
Takes a special person. How do you feel about that? Work with people with mental health problems.
Like I said before, I know I was put on this earth to be kind and compassionate to everyone.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it takes a special person with a unique set of skills to and a purpose in life to work with people that are mentally ill. It really does. So that ends my questions, and I'll pass it over to whomever would like to speak. So, Jen?
I don't have any questions. I want to congratulate you, Marcus. Just this year, you got your high set.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
February, I see that. So congratulations. I know that makes your family proud. You mentioned that I said that you were denied parole in 2022, and it seems as though that kind of made something click in your head. Because right after that is when you got moved there to hunt, and then you hit, as Warden said, you hit the ground running. And you yourself said you're trying to figure out, or maybe you figured out your purpose on earth, and you're trying to figure out who is Marcus Bias. Tell us who is Marcus Bias, and what is your purpose?
Well, I know I'm a good person, and I'm here to fulfill that now. And I was just being ignorant at a young age, didn't realize, and I finally understand what life is about. And I know I have kids that's waiting on me, and I'm ready to make amends to my community too, as well. And the person that I become, I really think I am the person that I've been looking for a long time. I've been lost a long time. Now I found myself, and I thank Elaine Hunts for that.
Have you managed not to have any write-ups?
By staying focused and being determined to get my life together and stay on the right track.
Okay. So do you have any pending charges out there?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You have a lot of prior drug charges. So you were a user and dealer at the same time, both?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
What was your drug of choice that you used?
Marijuana.
Nothing heavier than that?
No, ma'am.
Interesting. You drink alcohol?
Special occasions.
So you don't think you have a drug problem yourself?
Yes, I do, ma'am. That's why I took AA and NA.
What did you learn?
I learned the 12 steps of recovery, and I learned from other people's testimonies that we speak in the class, and how we can help each other overcome those obstacles in our life. The first step I learned that admitting that I was powerless over my addiction, that my life has become unmanageable.
What's the step number 5?
Step number 5, admitting to God, to myself, and to another human being the exact natures of my wrongs.
All right, you. How do you plan to stay clean and sober?
By going to work every day, being around my kids, get married, and live a successful life from here on out.
What kind of job skills do you have?
I'm a level 1, level 2 inspector for offshore pipes. I'm a concrete finisher. I know carpentry work. I know a little plumbing work, and a little electricity.
What kind of job did you have before you came to jail? Which one?
I was at the time I didn't have a job at the time, ma'am.
So that's how you made your living dealing the drugs? That's how you supported your kids?
No, some of it like that, but I had a job, but it was just like, it was temporary. It wasn't consistent.
So how did you come to get the certification or whatever you have for the pipe inspector offshore?
When at a job that I was working in New Iberia, Louisiana, at High Tech Tubular, they I was working for them, and they paid for my certificate and stuff, my to get the level 1, level 2 inspecting job.
I asked that question because that seemed to be that would be a pretty good, nice paying job. But then yet you still continue, I guess, to deal the drugs. They didn't pay you enough money?
No, ma'am, I had lost the job because I didn't have no more transportation at the time. I had lost my job.
All right. Why do you think we ought to consider you? Considering the fact that you're a 4th felony offender, as we said, you have quite an arrest history of other drug charges. Tell us why you think we ought to take a chance on you.
Because I realized the harm I done caused to my community, and I take full accountability for my actions, what I have done in the past. I'm not that immature, ignorant, selfish person anymore. I'm a mature and rehabilitated man. And I want to apologize for not being a good role model to my community and to my 6 children. And I'm ready to show that I could be a productive citizen, and and ready to make amends to them and show them that I can be a man worth following.
Before you came to jail, and any children who were minors, were you paying child support?
I was on child support, yes, ma'am.
Were you paying it?
Not at the moment, but when I had a job, I was paying it.
What's your transition plan? If you were successful, tell us where you would live, where you would work, how you would stay clean and sober, and what community service work would you do?
Where I would be living in Carencro, Louisiana, with April Tolliver. That's my fiance that's here today. And I would be working at BNN Transformer Construction with my brother. He's the owner of it, and he also here today. And I would be going to work every day, and I would be a volunteer helper to help the elders, and I would hope my testimony can help the youth too as well. And I will continue my sobriety with AA and NA.
Do you still do AA and NA there?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
How often do y'all meet?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Twice a week?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if it was mentioned today, and I'm sure it was during your last hearing. There is opposition to early release consideration for you by the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office in St. Tammany. So you need to be aware of that. There's not a whole lot you can do about that, but you need to just know it's there. Is there a statement? Warden, anything else you want to add?
No, ma'am, that was it.
Thank you. Mr. Byers, what would you like to say to us before we go?
I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to come back up on the parole board to share my accomplishments. And I would like to apologize to my community and to my family and to my children for my behavior, what I have caused in the past. And I'm ready to show them the better version of me to start this new chapter in my life. Thank you for letting me share.
All right, thank you, sir. I think we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton will be voting first.
Sir, you really have done well recently. The classes that you've taken, certainly the things that you say are all the right things to say. Like I said, this is what This is what I wrote down. You're an excellent inmate, but you've been a danger to society. You've served basically 1/3 of your sentence. I think you're on the right track in a lot of ways. I think you're on the right track. I think you need more time to continue on the right track so that when you get out, you will be able to make it in line. So today, my vote is going to be to revoke.
To deny.
I'm sorry, to deny, please. I'm sorry, please forgive me. To deny based upon your extensive criminal history and law enforcement opposition.
Ms. Ledoux?
Mr. Bias, so many positive things have been said today. So much hard work on your behalf. There's so much going in your favor. The biggest problem I have is that this recent change, which you have excellent history of conduct while you've been in prison, but I want to see a little bit more time. I'm encouraging you to write back. My vote is going to be to deny, but I don't think if you write back that there would be any reason to hold you if I were on the panel. So, but my vote is to deny today.
All right. Mr. Bias, it seems to me that when you met a panel in 2022, you may have been given some guidance as to what you needed to do. It seems to me that you've done that. I would vote to grant your parole based on your conduct since you've been there at Hunt, your record, the hard work that you've been doing, the fact that you got your GED recently, worked really hard. But I would grant only after you complete a transitional work program for a period of time. However, you've received 2 votes to deny your parole and 1 favorable vote, but today the outcome is that your parole's been denied. Keep doing what you're doing, sir. You'll be eligible, as you know, to reapply again. So I encourage you to do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good luck to you, sir.
Ma'am. Yeah.
All right, good morning. Mr. Menard,
Yes, ma'am.
would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Solomon R 380-884.
Yes, sir, Mr. Menard. My name is Cheryl Renanza. Seated to my left is Mrs. Stapleton. To my right, Mrs. Ledoux. Let me acknowledge the folks that are here with us there at Hunt. You have your mother, Mrs. Griffin, your stepfather, Mr. Griffin, and your brother, Glenn. On Zoom, we have the Parole Project, Mr. Kerry Myers, your fiance, Nicole Abear, and Michael McDaniel, a friend. Mr. Myers, Ms. Abear, and Mr. McDaniel want to speak on your behalf, and at the appropriate time, we'll ask them to do so. First, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, ask you to confirm it, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Stapleton. Your case has been assigned to her. She'll take the lead on the interview. We'll finish it. We'll get the warden's input, then we'll hear from the folks that indicated they want to speak. And if you want to, you can make a statement before we go. Okay. Mr. Menard, you're classified as a second felony offender. You are currently serving a 53-year sentence. You were sentenced in July 1997, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. You received a 3-year sentence, and you were on probation. That was revoked for a new felony conviction for which you were sentenced in September of 1998. That was armed robbery. You received a 50-year sentence, and those are running consecutive. So it's a 53-year sentence. Parole eligibility date was March 14, 2024. Your good time date is August 16, 24. Is that information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Would you answer Mrs. Stapleton's questions?
Mr. Menard, I read, you were like 17 when you had the first offense, the, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, which actually, according to the police report, it was a stuff you stole it. Is that correct? You and a friend?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. So then you put in jail for that and you were on probation, and then you had the second offense, not much longer, the armed robbery. Is that correct? Within the year? With another?
Yes, ma'am.
The way I read it was that, we don't have the victim here. And we don't have the hospital report, so about the injuries, but that the victim was seen walking on a gravel road and the victim was nude. The victim was he was a victim of battery, and that brass knuckles was used on him and he was kicked. That his clothing and his shoes and his wallet was taken, and that at first you denied having anything to do with it. Then later, you did give a second statement reflecting that both you and Romero took part in the crime, and both of you were booked on the charges. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, what were the injuries on your victim? Do you know?
An earring was knocked out of his ear. That's all that I know
Oh. So with brass knuckles, all he got was an earring knocked out of his ear?
of. He had a knot on the side of his head where he was hit with the brass knuckles.
Okay, what about the kicks?
He had bruising.
Bruising?
Yes, ma'am.
No other damage to his face or anything?
No, ma'am.
So why was he naked?
His clothes was taken off of him.
Y'all told him to take his clothes off? Was that to give y'all more time to get away, something like that? Or bond?
It just seemed like they were stupid.
I understand. Thing to do, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you something now. So we're looking at an 18-year-old and you've been in jail all of this time. Tell me what is 26 years of incarceration. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
26 years. So what is different in your life now than when you were 18 years old? Because you're now, what, 45, something like that?
45.
Tell me what you learned that you now that makes you a different, better person.
It's my way of thinking. 3 years ago, when I went through the RDAP program, I learned that you could change the way you think. And I was going at life so wrong. It was all about what I could get out of life, not what I could give life. And now the way I look at it is what I could do for others and how I could help other people. I'm no longer the same selfish person I was. It was all about what I.
So for the first 23 years that you were in jail, are you saying that you really weren't, you were still thinking about yourself and just, I don't know, getting out of jail and beating the charge and really not worrying about anything else except that? Is that for 23 years?
Well, not for the whole 23 years. I mean, RDAP's the main program that helped.
Hard hat, you said? I'm sorry.
Residential program.
Oh, it's the drug abuse program, sir? Yeah, and you took that 3 years ago, is that right? And that really stuck with you, the things that they said. And how long is that program?
It's 45 days.
Oh, 45 days. And so since that time, what have you done in jail differently for the past 3 years?
Since that time, I've been a mentor in the program.
Okay. Anything else?
No, ma'am. There's a few times the institution needed trustees and I'd go to work. But I'd always go back to the program as a mentor.
Okay. And what does a mentor do?
Our job is in the program helping other guys with addictions.
Okay.
You house the same unit as them, and you spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with them.
So was it addiction that caused you to steal that car and then beat up that guy? Were y'all on drugs during that? Because it didn't say that in the report. I didn't know.
Yes, ma'am. I struggled with addiction my entire life.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your drug of choice?
It started off with marijuana, then when I went to Angola, it became heroin. And after that, it was crystal meth.
All the while you were in Angola, crystal meth and heroin?
No, not the entire time. It would happen. I'd get on drugs and I would get in something like AA or a substance abuse class and I would do good. And when I would feel like I have myself together and disconnect myself from programs, I'd always end up back on drugs. And these past 3 years, as long as I stay involved in something like what I'm doing now, I'm clean. I know I can't do this on my own.
Well, that's true. So even in jail, though, when you're in such a, I don't know, an ordered society, let's say, you can still and will wanted to use crystal meth and heroin. Is that correct? Because that is so much more confining than what you're going to find when you get out in the real world again.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so you're going to keep up with the different programs and stuff. Well, I'm going to read to you because you have law enforcement opposition. The sheriff, he opposes it, and then but the chief of police, which is Brent Bro, for the Canton Police Department, he actually wrote a statement that I'm going to read. It says, our office reached out to Chief Brent Bro with Canton Police Department in regards to this pre-parole investigation. Chief Bro stated that he was a parole officer in the area at the time of the armed robbery and is very familiar with not only this case, but the victim as well. Chief Bro stated that this crime was committed out of hate, as the victim had almost nothing of value at the time of the attack. Chief Bro stated that he does not believe someone capable of the level of violence displayed that day can ever be truly rehabilitated and will pose a threat to the safety of the community if released. Chief Rowe ended by saying his office would be opposed to the early release of Jonah Menard. So that's the strongest opposition in writing. And the level of violence, and you said all he did was get an earring knocked out of his ear and a knot on his head. That's all you know.
That's all that I know of, yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay.
not saying all the injuries he had, that's all that I know, I was aware of.
All right, well, that ends my questions.
I do know that you had a total loss of 151 good time days. You had 9 number 1 contraband rule violations. Were those the drugs charges while you were in Angola?
Yes, ma'am, 3 of them were drug related.
Okay. Okay, and your last one was in 2020. When did you make it to Hunt?
In 2019.
2019. So he's had 1 warden since he's been here, or how many have you been?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was a number 1 as well.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
What was that? What was that contraband?
It was cell phones, microphone, headphones, and some CDs. And some boxing strips.
I don't have any other questions. All right, Warden, anything you want to add?
Yes, ma'am. He's a kind of a tough case. He's had a long history of substance abuse. He's done really well these last few years as a mentor. He works real close with in the behavioral management programs that we have here. The mentor volunteered to live with the guys in the cell block and in the dorm to mentor with them 24/7. So it's an extensive program that he went through and then volunteered to become a mentor. We definitely appreciate that, and I think that's what's helping him to stay clean. I think that he's going to always need some substance abuse treatment, and I did talk to him about maybe getting him into a long-term substance abuse facility, and he expressed that he would like to do that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for that input. Mr. Menard, we're going to hear from your supporters today. First, we'd like to hear from the Parole Project. Mr. Myers.
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. Jonah has very candidly admitted that he has struggled with addiction all of his life. But I think it's very clear that about 3.5 years ago, particularly when he completed the residential drug program, that he started to get things together. Parole Project understands this. But when you add in the things that he's the mentoring, the skills that he has, the employability that he has based on his skills, the family support that he has, we are prepared to assist him in transition should this board grant him parole. Mainly, he would, if he is released to us, we would immediately give him an evaluation through our social worker, a substance abuse evaluation. And if that required a residential treatment plan, I know that that's exactly what he would do. We are, based on the totality of the support. I agree with the warden that a long-term plan would be highly beneficial for him. He has turned that corner. He has turned that corner both in maturity from the 18-year-old that committed the crimes and through his struggle against substance abuse. But we believe that Jonah, with the right assistance, can be very productive and would be very productive, and we're prepared to assist him with that.
All right, thank you, sir. Could we hear from Ms. Abear now? Nicole.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here to speak on behalf of Jonah. I've known him for 7.5 years. He is my fiance, and my best friend. We as his family, are asking for his second chance in life. I believe that we all would have positive things to say about Jonah. But nobody's perfect except for one, God himself. I've known Jonah to be loving, caring, and show compassion to others around him. Also, he has a great sense of personality and at times a big character. As a mentor, he is accomplishing and helping others. That also brings out his great strengths and qualities. Over the years, I witnessed tremendous change and growth in him. Jonah has the ambition and skills he has gained from prison to succeed in the outside world. He will have a stable home environment, a vehicle, and a phone so he will be able to go to work. There's no doubt in my mind that Jonah would be a great addition to society, even more with the help and support from us. It would help keep him grounded and help him excel in what he chooses to do in life. So today we're asking for his second chance and praying you may decide to grant him that opportunity. But not only for me, for his mom, Debbie, his family and friends, and our grandbaby. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, Mr. McDaniel?
Yes, ma'am. How y'all doing?
Good. Go ahead, sir.
I'm here on behalf of Jonah because I've been knowing him probably about 25 years. I was in Angola with him myself, and I've been there through a lot of his addiction and all that. And I mean, he can overcome that because he's overcome it, and he can stay straight. And I'm gonna be out here willing and ready to help him. I'm financially able to help him. I'm financially able to help him get a house, a vehicle, whatever he needs. I can help him do that. I know he's got a job and I know he's got everything lined up. But if that job is something happens, I can get him a job right here working with me because he's very talented. He's very smart. I mean, everybody messes up. I went to Angola when I was 16 and I changed. And I know that Jonah can change and I know that he can be productive and I know that he can be a good citizen out here and he can help other people. He can help other people that goes through or is going through some of the same problems that he has been through. So, I mean, and he's able to do that. He could tell them, I mean, he's willing to talk to juveniles and kids and whatever he's got to do. He's able to do all that. And he could tell them about the life that he lived, how they need to change and how they can be a better person for themselves. So he's ready to do whatever he needs to do. And I'm ready to help him. I think he can. I mean, he's a good person. He does go through problems, but everybody goes through problems. I've been through problems when I was in there. While you're in there, it's just a lot on your shoulders. It's a lot you got to carry, and he does. I mean, he does got a tough road, but I've been there, and I know what he needs to stay out and do the right thing because I've been there. And I've been out almost 7 years now. So
good. Glad to hear.
Really,
glad to see you
yes,
doing
ma'am.
well. Glad to see
Yes,
you doing.
ma'am.
Thank you for
And
your support. Morning.
yeah, and where I work at, I'm a foreman at this shop, and I can 100% get him a job working with me. And he's a really good electrician and mechanic, so finding him a job and keeping him busy is not going to be hard this day and time.
All right. Well, good.
So,
Thank you for taking the time to
thank
speak with us this morning.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Menard, is there a statement you'd like to make to us before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. First, I'd like to thank y'all for this opportunity. To my victim, his family, and his friends, I would like to apologize. That man should have never had to experience what I put him through. Him or his family. Anyone I harmed in any kind of way, I apologize. I've suffered with substance abuse, but I learned what I have to do to keep myself straight. And I'm just begging y'all, just please give me a chance. I won't let y'all down. I'm willing to do anything I need to do, not to get my freedom, but to make sure I keep my freedom. That's all I'm asking y'all, please. Just give me a chance.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, we have a motion by Ms. Stapleton to executive session. Can you call the roll?
Carol,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
So Mr. Menard will be in executive session for a few moments to discuss confidential matters. We'll be right back. We'll stand by. All right, Mr. Menard, we are back in regular session. It's 11:15. We are prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton will be voting first.
Mr. Menard, we heard everything that you had to say. And today, listening to the warden and the things that you had to say, and of course, the parole project, you have served 20 years, 26 years. And, you're in the mentorship program. All of those things are wonderful. And you know, there's a saying that you probably have heard, some people turn their pain into a purpose. Maybe you will find your purpose now. And I hope that for you. So my recommendation today is to send you to a long-term DOC substance abuse program. And then after that, with a special condition of recommended aftercare for them. That would be my vote today.
Ms. Ledoux?
So Mr. Menard, you are going to now have to prove that you've made the change. My vote is to send you to a long-term DOC substance abuse program. And after that, follow that group's recommendations for aftercare, along with anything that the Parole Project may encourage you to do. But my vote today is to agree with that condition.
All right, Mr. Menard, and I do agree after listening to all the conversation today from you and from others, and particularly that you and the warden have had the conversation about long-term substance abuse and you're agreeable to it. So my vote today also is to grant parole after you complete that program. It's a long-term DOC inpatient substance abuse program. After release, the special condition is that you must comply with whatever aftercare treatment plan that program recommends. And also the release is conditioned that you do take advantage of the Parole Project's transition plan. They will also have recommendations for aftercare. You're to follow those recommendations as well. You got it? Understand?
Yeah, thank y'all.
All right, good luck to you.
Good luck.
All right, good, still good morning. Mr. Williams, good morning.
Morning. How y'all
Would you,
doing?
good, thanks for asking. Would you introduce yourself, tell us your name and DOC number?
And Felix William, my DOC number 363273.
Yes, sir, Mr. Williams. Let me introduce your panel. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Seated to my left, Mrs. Stapleton. To my right is Mrs. Ledoux. We also have here today, you see joining us by Zoom, the Parole Project, Mr. Myers, and we're going to call on him for his remarks after a while. First off, Mr. Williams, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Ledoux. Your case has been assigned to her. She'll take the lead on the parole interview. Once we finish that interview, we're going to hear from we'll hear from the warden first. Then we'll hear from Mr. Myers, and if before we reach a decision, you'll be allowed to make a statement if you want to. Okay, you ready? Mr. Williams, you are classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 40-year sentence. You were sentenced September 2004 for manslaughter. You have a parole eligibility date, which was February 5th, 2024, and a good time date of February 10th, 2037. Does all that information sound correct to you, sir? All right, would you answer Ms. Ledoux, please?
Mr. Williams, good morning. First, I want to compliment you on your disciplinary conduct while you've been incarcerated. My record only indicates 2 write-ups, with the last 2015. So I've read your file. We have over 170 pages of documentation. And I'm still, even after reading the police report, I don't know what happened that day. I'm not retrying you, but I really want to hear in your own words what happened that day.
Well, at night,
that you shot your nephew. Yes.
my cousin.
Your cousin, excuse me. That's right. Your cousin.
At night when that happened, I was drinking a little bit, and I took all the books out the gun before I went in the house. When I went inside the house, I pulled the gun out, playing with it, and the gun went off. I threw the gun on the floor. I threw the gun on the floor, and he fall and hit the floor. And I tried to see what was wrong with him. And I heard when he took his last breath. And I heard one of my nephew, he had me and him went to rapping a little bit. And then I went up in there to go tell my mom and my sister what happened, but I couldn't get the words out. And I got jumped from the back. And I didn't try to fight back. I just let him hold me down to the police camp. I take full responsibility for my action, what happened. I did it. I did that, and I'm remorseful about all what happened that night. It was something foolish. I done a foolish thing, and I asked my family to forgive me. I'm remorseful, and I asked my family to forgive me for all that.
So why were you billed with second-degree murder instead of manslaughter to begin with, do you think?
Well, I admitted to doing what I did to the sergeant when he went to question me, because I did it. I took full responsibility for my action at that time. And then I kept going to court behind it, kept going to court, and they couldn't, first they had me on second degree, then they took it and changed and put me on manslaughter, give me the manslaughter charge, and I carved out to it.
So that was, it was a plea bargain down to manslaughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your family today? Do you have family?
Yes, ma'am. I told my family every weekend they're supposed to do it on Zoom. They're supposed to be on Zoom with y'all.
on Zoom or something? Yeah, we don't have anybody today. Well, it looks like you've taken quite a few classes, had some good programming. So how long have you served on your 40-year sentence?
20 years and 4 months.
And how old are you today?
56.
So you're a second felony offender. What was your first conviction for?
My first conviction over was I got a distribution charge.
A what?
Distribution charge in 96.
Distribution. Okay. So you said you were drinking the night of this incident. Were you also doing drugs?
Yes, ma'am.
Was your cousin doing drugs as well? How old was he?
He was in his 20s.
Was he doing drugs with you?
No, ma'am. He didn't do drugs.
Okay. So you were also billed with a felon with a firearm that was dropped when you pled down. Is that correct?
Now,
But you were not on supervision at that time. You were off supervision.
I finished it out there when I was out there on the street. I finished 5-year probation. I completed it.
So have you taken victim awareness?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel today about what happened? I know you take full responsibility. What are some of the factors that you could say would have changed that from ever happening?
I hurt my family physically, financially, mentally, and spiritually.
How could you have prevented that night?
That night when that happened, if I wouldn't have been dragging and doing the things I was doing, I was mature at the time, but I ain't that person no more. I ain't gonna never come to be that person no more. And the way I do things better for my family is all I got is love. And I need them. And I'm gonna do everything in my power to show them that I'm a better brother, a better uncle, a better father to my kids and my grandkids.
So in 2019, you requested clemency. What was the result of that?
I got the clemency and he gave me this parole. He took the clemency from me and gave me the parole.
Okay, so prior to,
I think what he means is after he submitted the clemency, he became eligible for parole, so he sent the clemency. Which was at 22.
so you became parole eligible, irregardless of the clemency. Okay. I believe that we have someone.
Yes, we have, Mr. Williams, we do have your sister, Gaynell Williams, on the phone with us. She was able, we're talking on the phone. She wasn't able to get in on Zoom, so we got her here. We'll ask her in just a moment for her comments.
Go ahead. Unless you'll have some other questions.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. I was trying so hard to hear you well, but I really couldn't. And I know your sister's on the phone. So you were a felon in possession of a stolen firearm that night.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So did you steal the firearm from somebody?
No, ma'am. Somebody gave it to me.
Somebody gave it to you, so it was stolen firearm. Now, I'm trying to understand also, you said that you had a gun. This is what I heard, and I didn't hear everything. You had a gun and that you emptied the bullet side of it. It's what I thought I heard you say. And then the statement that I'm reading from the sheriff in that area, he said that you and your cousin were playing a video game and that you shot him in the back of the head, causing his death. So how does that happen? And be an accident, or did you get mad at him and just because you said you were drinking and doing drugs, just pow with him? It couldn't have been with an empty gun.
The gun had one bullet in it. I ain't know they had a bullet in it, but the person who was playing the video game, he was the person that I shot. It was because my cousin on side of him. They had two of us up in there.
Okay.
There had three of us in there, I won't say.
Okay, so there was another person in there and there was a person playing the video game. You had a gun. So what did you do? You thought you had an empty gun, put it to the back of his head, pull the trigger, kind of like Russian roulette, and then pull the trigger, and then it killed him?
I was behind him, and I played with him with the gun, and the gun went off. I was behind my cousin, Kim Perry, and the gun went off. Playing with him.
Wow.
Can't hear.
How did it go off? You said you were behind him, the gun just went off. How did it go off? That trigger.
My hand was on the trigger, and it went off.
Pointed to the back of his head?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Had you ever played like that before with a gun?
No, ma'am. I hated guns. I don't know.
Have a
why.
gun.
I don't even know why I got that gun. Cause I wasn't going getting into it with nobody.
All right, well, let's hear from Warden. Is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Williams?
Not a whole lot that wasn't already mentioned. He's been on the right track. He's been doing well. Like I said, he hasn't had a write-up since 2016. He has taken a lot of classes in the last few years. I mean, he's definitely on the right track. He's doing well.
Good, thank you. We'll hear now, Mr. Williams, we'd like to hear from the Parole Project, Mr. Myers.
Hi, good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. Just as recently as Tuesday, we visited with Mr. Williams. I know that y'all had asked about his family. We know that we've confirmed with his sister Donna, which will be his long-term residence, and you have his other sister on the phone that you'll hear from. This is so tragic. This entire event is so tragic. As Mr. Williams recognizes, his actions led to this tragedy. He immediately took responsibility for it that night and still does. He has his disciplinary record, I think, shows the type of person he is and the type of person he has been during that, combined with the programming he has taken. He works in maintenance. He has skills. We will be able to find him through our employment program. We will be able to find him permanent employment while he's in our program. The programs that he's taken to address even the alcohol, substance abuse, living in balance, thinking for a change, certainly recognizes the fact that decision making is an important part of his future. We believe, based on his age, his maturity, that Mr. Williams wants to go home, wants to go to work, wants to be an integral part of his family, and wants no part of the things that brought him to prison again. So we would ask this board to consider that today. The amount of time that he served and his overall record, and with our support, we know that Mr. Williams will be successful. So we just ask this board to consider that today.
All right, good, thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Gaynell Williams, we'd like to hear from you. Wait, let me put you on the speaker, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, how y'all doing?
Good, thanks for asking. What would you like us to know?
I'm talking to y'all on behalf of my brother Stacy Williams. And I was just saying that I realized that what he did was wrong, but I know he been there 20 years, 3 months and 6 days. And I believe that he has did his time for what he did. And I just was praying on your behalf that y'all give him lenience to get his freedom back and try to correct the wrong he did and get his life back in order. And I would love for him to stay positive, and I appreciate y'all giving me this opportunity to talk on his behalf, because I was over here crying because I couldn't get to the Zoom, and I was feeling that I was letting him down because I've been by his side from day one. And I believe that he has grown a whole lot in these 20 years. And he always talked positive when I talked to him. And I was just praying that y'all give him the opportunity to return back to his home with us, so we can finish helping him with the health that he needs to stay positive and things like that. And I still believe that he's been asked for forgiveness, and I believe that my God, our God, has forgiven him for what he did. So I was just hoping that everyone else, can forgive him and grant him his early parole.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Gaynell, for joining us by phone. I'm glad we were able to make that connection.
I'm telling you the truth, ma'am. I'm so dumbfounded when it come down to computer stuff. I prayed and prayed, but I felt that I was letting him down because I couldn't get through it. And believe it or not, I asked the Lord to show me a sign, and that's when I got the song.
Well, there you go. He told us he was expecting you, so I'm glad we were able to connect.
And I'm so happy that I was able to talk on his behalf.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And I appreciate everything that y'all trying to do for it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move. I asked Mr. Williams, is there a statement you'd like to make before we vote? Mr. Williams. Go ahead.
I just want to thank y'all for giving me this opportunity to sit in front of y'all and talk to y'all. That I've been waiting on all these years to talk to y'all. But I never did have no time to talk to nobody about my situation. So I just want to thank y'all.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here today. Ms. Ledoux.
Mr. Williams, I just thank you so much for your good programming and your good conduct. I'm hung up on the fact that this was billed as a second-degree murder, and was given a reduced charge, and all the other charges were dropped as a result of the plea bargain. Today, my vote is to deny. I'm going to encourage you to write back. I just don't, I don't feel like that the best interest of justice has been served. I do think that you have, as the warden also said, if you're going in the right direction, everything's going in the right direction. But I would encourage you to write back. Thank you.
Mrs. Stapleton.
I agree with everything that Ms. Ledoux said. I'm concerned that this was an absolute innocent victim. And it was second degree murder. And then you had a plea bargain that you would have gotten life that brought it down to 40 years. You've done 20 years and 4 months, and you're on the right track. And that's all good information. I wish you well, but like I said, it was an innocent victim murder that night. So my vote is to deny.
Mr. Williams, I concur with everything that's been said. My vote today, based on the strong law enforcement opposition and the opposition from the district attorney and the chief of police. My vote today is to deny with strong encouragement that you do write back. Warden said you're on the right path. Keep going down that path, and maybe next time you'll have a better outcome. Today, sir, your parole's been denied. All right. Good morning. Mr. Cummings, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Gene coming back. You may know it's 78558.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cummings, and you have counsel with you this morning. Would you introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning, Board. Adrienne Hutchison, attorney for the Louisiana Parole Project, here as counsel for Mr. James Cummings. And with the board's permission, I'd like to reserve my comments for the end of the hearing, please.
Great, thank you so much. And let me acknowledge that you have there with you at Hunt, your sister, Ms. Valerie Harris, and Leluca Matthews, your niece, and your niece has indicated she wants to speak on your behalf. So we'll call on her at the appropriate time. We also have the Parole Project, Mr. Myers, who is on Zoom, who will be speaking at the appropriate time. Mr. Cummings, this is your first parole hearing, is it not? Okay, so let me, I'm sure Ms. Hutchinson has explained it, but let me explain how it's going to work today. I will read some identifying information into the record. I'm going to ask you to verify if that information is correct. We'll have a parole interview with you. We'll hear from the warden there, and we'll hear from your niece, Ms. Matthews, and Mr. Myers. We'll ask you if you have a statement you'd like to make before we turn it over to your attorney, Ms. Hutchinson, to close it out for us. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
So, Mr. James Cummings, you're classified as a first felony offender, excuse me. You're currently serving two concurrent life sentences. Those life sentences are consecutive to an armed robbery 10-year sentence. You were sentenced, as I said, November 13th, 1974 in St. Bernard Parish. You have a parole eligibility date under Act 739, which was June 17, 2022. Is that information correct? Excuse me, Act 544, I apologize. Not that that matters to you, Mr. Cummings, you're here today. All right. Your case has been assigned to me, sir, so I'm going to take the lead on the parole interview. So, Mr. Cummings, how old are you today?
72.
And how long have you been in jail?
Since.
How many years? How many years?
Just 20, this must be 51 years.
51. So that would make you 21 at the time this crime occurred?
Yeah.
You right? And how long have you been there at Hunt?
Since 06. Since 06.
Okay. So you've been there quite a while. And do you have any other convictions on your criminal record?
No, ma'am.
All right. And you were eligible for parole under the U.S. Supreme Court decision, Graham versus Florida. And I don't know, Ms. Hutchinson, if you'd explain that to him, I can get you to say acknowledge yes or no in the record, just so we have it on the record.
So Mr. Cummings is 10-6 life and was 21 at the time of the crime. So it's just that you would be eligible for parole without license. Okay.
All right. So Mr. Cummings, what grade did you complete in school when you were on the street, when you were a young teenager? Ninth grade? Did you, why'd you quit school?
I just really got tired going to school, you know. Just got tired.
So what did you do with your time?
I went to a trade up in a trade school on a mechanic.
Okay, well, what kind of job did you get on when you were on the street? What kind of jobs did you have?
Auto mechanic, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Auto mechanic.
Auto mechanic, okay. What's your job there at the prison?
Right now, I'm a yard artist right now.
So when I went to Angola, I was in Angola as auto mechanic.
Worked at ASNR? Where'd you work?
No, at a trade school in auto mechanic,
No.
Angola.
So, tell us about, you've been in jail 51 years almost. What kind of programs have you taken that meant the most to you? You don't have to list them all, but which one did you get the most out of?
I had the most out of all of them, but victim impact is my best one.
Why is that? Tell us why that is.
It's teaching me that a person will really hurt it, you know. A victim will really hurt it, you know.
And you completed that training last year, I believe, in 2023. So that was recently. Did you do the listen and learn, victim listen and learn program?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Yes.
That's okay. You got a lot. And so let me just ask for the record. So my record shows you've taken an anger management class. You've completed living in balance, which is a substance abuse class. You've completed the 100 hours pre-release program. You've completed all phases of the sex offender treatment program. And you've done some parenting, I think a parenting class. Does all that sound right to you? So tell me, Mr. Cummings, what is it that brings you, why are you here today? Why are you in jail?
I'm here because of the rape, attempt rape, you know. And I'm here to see that I'm very sorry for what happened, you know, to the victim, you know.
So were you involved in the actual rape itself of the two young girls?
I was involved because I was there, you know. And I was the oldest out of all of them. But if I had the sense that I had now, back then, I would have, you know, told them, you know, bag off, you know. Bag off, don't mess with them, you know. That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. For the record, let me state there is quite a bit of opposition to early consideration for early release for Mr. Cummings. There's opposition from law enforcement. There's opposition from the sitting judge in the judicial district court that sentenced Mr. Cummings. There's opposition from the prosecutor's office. So that's something you need to be aware of. You do show that you have a low risk assessment score. We do show that. And I wanted to say for the record, there were two victims in this case. They were both young teenagers. One of the victims is deceased, unfortunately. We do have information. Contact was made with one of the female victims in March of this year, recently. And her response or her position on Mr. Cummings' parole, she says, I'm going to abbreviate her letter, but she does say, I am unopposed. He's been forgiven. I hope he does something constructive now. And that's quite remarkable. We don't usually see that in this particular type of case. And I wanted to just say that on the record. Mr. Cummings, why do you think we should consider you for early release?
Because I'm a changed man, you know. I don't think the way I used to think when I was young. You know, and I like not go around helping other people in every way. You know, try to let everybody know I'm a change, man. I don't think.
Just give us an example if you can. You say you go around helping other people. Give us an example of how you do that.
I go around talking to them when I see them got trouble in mind or some kind of way, leaving on to the wrong way. I put them to the side and talk to them and stuff.
Do they listen to you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You think you've helped some of them out?
I had a lot of them up out of the way they was going, though. The way they were going.
Good. I'm glad you're doing that. I don't have any other particular questions. I've reviewed the record. It's quite extensive. We have quite a thorough packet that was submitted by your attorney. So I would just see if my colleagues have any questions, Ms. Ledoux. No, ma'am.
I don't. I believe you covered everything.
So we'll ask Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Cummings?
Well, first I just want to mention that, my heart goes out to the victim and the family. That is extraordinary that she wrote that letter forgiving him. I think I maybe seen that twice in my career, sitting on the parole hearing. So that's pretty extraordinary of a person that she is. I just wanted to mention that. Mr. Cummins is no problem here. I mean, even at his age, he still works. We have a young inmate that don't want to work, but he goes work in the kitchen and on the yards helping out. He's had he had some programming and no write-up. I think his last disciplinary report was in 2013. So he's been doing well here.
Good. And I believe that was a low court write-up even in 13.
Yes, ma'am, I think so.
Good. Good deal. Do you work with the boxers?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that.
That about that, it's a beautiful thing working with them because, it's not that I control their mind. I control the way they really act towards thinking, Just not their mind, the way they think.
Yes, sir.
Show us your move. You got some good moves?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll hear from those who are here in support. First, we'd like to hear from Mr. Myers, the Parole Project.
Good afternoon. Kerry Myers for Louisiana Parole Project. One of the, obviously, two of the goals of incarceration are incapacitation and retribution. 51 years, I think, has satisfied those things in Mr. Cummings' case. And we're here because of Act 544 that recognized people who were, they called 10-6 lifers, who pleaded guilty to that charge and received that promise that they would serve 10 years and 6 months. Was the state's answer to restoring that breach. But beyond that, and far beyond that, Mr. Cummings, as you see, he's through training boxers, through his willingness to work, through his disciplinary record, through the programming, through essentially the entire length of his incarceration, has shown that he is now a mature man. He recognizes and even stated that he wished he would have done something different that day. Knowing who he is now, it would have prevented that act from happening. We're here to commit to his long-term support. We have done this for other 10-6 lifers. I also like to say that there were 2 other co-defendants in this case. Both of them have been released. And I think also I agree that it's incredible, the compassion and the forgiveness of the victim in this case. And so we would just ask that this board consider all these things and grant Mr. Cummings his parole today.
Mr. Myers, can you tell us what services Parole Project will provide to Mr. Cummings should he be granted?
Yes, ma'am. We have been working with his family already to establish a long-term residential plan, but we're committed to having him in residence as long as it takes, but we'll also make sure he is connected to all medical services. We'll make sure he is connected to any other services that's available to him. He'll be seen by our social worker for evaluation. One of the biggest things in 50 years is obviously a world that's going to be completely different from the one he left. Our staff will guide him, mentor him through this transitional process. So, you know, the world doesn't come screaming to his front door as it would be at such a long time. He'll learn how to use a cell phone, and I'm sure that's challenging. He'll learn how to shop. He'll learn how to do the basic things. But generally, we'll help him to adjust to life, to the normalcy of life outside of prison.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Ms. Matthews, can we hear from you, please?
Yes, I'm Laura, and I'm his niece, and I'm almost 54 years old next month, so this has been my entire life with my uncle, who has also been a surrogate father to me as well. And when my grandparents passed, it's almost as if the torch of continuing the family care, support, seeing him through everything. It has been fulfilling to do this because I know family is everything to me. I have 4 children, 2 of my sons, I have 2 sons and 2 daughters. My oldest son is a commander in the Army, and it is due to my uncle being a surrogate father, even though I'm a married woman, a surrogate father to even my children, surrogate uncle. He has been very instrumental in our lives, even from behind bars. And it's commendable that he has kept this strength. Some people would have folded, I'm pretty sure by now, under pressure. I can't even imagine. But we love our uncle. We're here for him. My mom's his sister, she's right here. And he has a lot of family support. The only thing that I know my uncle wants to come out and do good is to take care of a dog. He fell in love with the Cane Corso because I traveled the world. I went to Corso, Italy, and I told him about this dog. That's all he has in his mind is a Cane Corso. And I promised him a dog to take care of the rest of his life because that's what he wants. And it's the smallest thing to us, but it's the greatest thing to him. And I just feel like just to see him care for a dog and just to nurture something is his way to give back in some type of way. And he is not a risk to anyone. He is a gentle lamb, but he's firm and he's fair. And that's the things that I truly appreciate about my uncle. And I know that he has raised me from behind bars. And I know when I'm not feeling well, I know who's gonna lift my spirit. He'll call me and it seems like the world is a whole lot better. That's the type of person he is. He's not harmful to anyone. He is no risk to anyone. He just wants to live with a dog, you know.
We appreciate your support of him, and we are glad that you were able to be here today and share those remarks with us. I'm going to ask Mr. Cummings, is there a statement you'd like to make before we turn it over to your lawyer?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry for whatever happened in life, you know, to the victim. I'm really, I'm sorry. That's about it.
Sir Hutchinson.
Thank you, board, for your time with us today, and thank you for reviewing our brief. Mr. Cummings, again, was a 10-6 lifer, and today, 4 decades after his original plea agreement, he receives his first chance at parole. And as Mr. Myers said, he is the last one related to this offense that is still incarcerated. If I could just highlight Mr. Cummins compared to those things that the board considers for parole. Mr. Cummins had no prior criminal history before this instant offense, and he had a reasonable institutional adjustment period early on and an exceptional disciplinary record overall. He's only had 35 write-ups in 50 years, 90% of which are over 25 years ago. Just to talk about the characteristics of Mr. Cummins, he's dependable. He was an auto mechanic at Angola for some years. And in Exhibit 9, you can see a Walk Talk article that highlights him as a part of an exceptional yard orderly crew. In a letter from Dr. Searcy, the program manager, he's considered always willing to help. Dedicated and hardworking, obviously. He's taken classes towards his GED at Angola, Wade, and Hunt. And while it was determined that he would not be able to get the GED, it wasn't from a lack of effort. The Walk Talk article acknowledged, the Walk Talk article that's attached acknowledged that he was a hard worker and assisted others. He's disciplined, years as a boxer and a trainer, and also with his dedication to his faith. Also in that letter from Dr. Searcy, he says he never misses a Bible study or a special event. And he describes Mr. Cummings as gentle and quiet. He's also volunteered with the mental health first aid. He volunteers and feeds in the kitchen here. And he's also been a part of the Lifers Association for years. Coach Butler, in his letter in which Mr. Cummings was the 2019 recipient of the Athletic Directors Award, calls him a strong leader with a positive attitude. He's worked hard in the sports program and is trusted to travel outside the prison walls with the boxing team or when he's refereeing for tournaments. And yes, he does still work out with the boxers. I witnessed it the other day. He jives, he does push-ups, he runs, he spars. He's remained in good health. But also I'd like to talk about those things that show that Mr. Cummings is not a threat to society. He has a low Tiger risk score, indicating a low risk of recidivism and strong community support from LPP and his family. And while I promised Mr. Cummings I wouldn't call him old at the young age of 72, he's statistically less likely to continue criminal activities. He's at almost 0%. So considering his low risk of recidivism, his long-term support with LPP, his institutional record, volunteering and programming, and just his trusted positions at the various prisons, we humbly ask this board to provide Mr. Cummings the relief for the first time on the board in 40 years and give him a second chance with any conditions the board deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cummings, I believe the panel is prepared to vote and I'll be voting first. Mr. Cummings, I've really struggled with your case. I've read it over and over and over for a couple of weeks. I look at it every day. And, you know, I am, the crime itself, regardless of what your involvement is, was a terrible crime. And the two young victims were impacted forever. And, you know, I was really struck by the comments that the surviving victim made. That's just really what made it work for me. My vote today is going to be to grant your parole to the parole project plan. And my vote is based on the letter, the information or comments we received from the victim, comments by the warden, the work you've done since you've been incarcerated, and based on the plea agreement you made way back when and Act 544, where you pled guilty thinking you were going to have a 10-6 sentence. So my vote today is to grant you parole. Mrs. Stapleton.
I agree with everything that Mrs. Renat stated. You have the one victim that did forgive you, and said that it was forgiven. The father of the other victim did not. They're deceased. But I do feel like you're not a danger to society anymore, and we do have surviving victims that it plays a big part in these types of situations. And everything Ms. Renasa said is true. You know, I mean, you went under a juvenile lifer situation, and you served 51 years. Everything you're doing now is positive, that you will move forward in life. So, you know, my vote today is to grant you pardon also, and to release you to the parole project, which I know to be very excellent.
Thank you, Mayor.
There's nothing you can do to mitigate the crime. It's a terrible crime. There's nothing you can do to make that go away. You've been incarcerated almost 51 years. Your last write-up was in 2013. There's no victim opposition from the girls. The one is deceased. The other did not oppose your release. Based on your low risk assessment score, I see you pose no public safety risk. You've expressed true remorse. You've taken advantage of all the programs that have been afforded to you to make you successful on reentry, and you have an excellent release plan. For those reasons, my vote is also to grant parole.
Mr. Cummings, parole's been granted. Warden, that concludes our business at your facility. We're going to adjourn. It's 12:20. Thanks for your help today.
No problem.